Ultimate X-Men issue 11 is officially out, and we might actually be getting the first instances of the early days in creation of this universe's version of the X-Men, and I'm excited for this because we're getting some real conflict. We're getting groups forming after the events of everything going on with the Children of the Atom cult. We got some more stuff with Kanan and Hisako actually meeting in this chapter. We're getting some inklings of what's going on with May. We get some actual references to other titles more fully in this issue, as this series has more or less been off on its own, somewhat isolated from other events in the Ultimate Universe that hasn't been fully progressing the overarching plot, but that might be changing soon. And I'm incredibly excited to talk about everything that happened in this issue and to just talk Ultimate X-Men with you guys. But before we jump into things, don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the notification bell for updates whenever I upload more with these issue reviews of Ultimate X-Men or other comic book series and just baseline discussions of comic books in general. It really helps, and I really hope to hit 500 before the end of February, so let's try and reach that goal. Now then, let's jump right into the events of Ultimate X-Men issue 11. Now we'll start things off with Mori and Nico going to Natsu's house to try and figure out what's going on, as she has seemingly dropped off the face of the planet to them. They haven't talked to her at all, they haven't been able to reach her, and so they began worried. And so after reaching her room, her apartment, Nico then uses her psychic abilities to create a key to pick the lock and open the door. And so the two of them are going into the house, with Mori kind of saying, we probably shouldn't be doing this is more so breaking and entering, but Nico does want to help push her to try and find Natsu and see what's going on. They then notice some burned holes in her doorway, as it was mostly done from Natsu's optic blast. Now, if you remember from the previous issue, in a fit of rage and unable to fully control her abilities, Natsu accidentally used her optic blast to blast through the door and accidentally killed her own mother. And so, this is definitely one of the reasons why Natsu left, especially with all the anti-mutant sentiment that's been going around the internet and just Japanese society right now in the series. So, she definitely has a lot of reasons not to stay home. And so, as they walk in, they don't see anything, as the room ended up being completely torn apart. Slashes everywhere, broken furniture, paper all over the place, as something definitely happened. Nico looks over on the ground as she sees a symbol that seemingly looks like the symbol that is used to symbolize the Children of the Atom, and has been cut very evenly to look like an X. We then cut to the temple in the mountainside behind Kirigaya Minami Middle School, where Hisako used to go to. Now, this is during New Year's, and part of Japanese culture is to go to a shrine and pray for the future and for good luck and for blessings from the gods, so this is why she's there, especially considering that in the previous issue, after all the chaos has been going on, Hisako kind of left her home and has been staying with Nico recently. And after going to the shrine, we then think to earlier. Now, we don't know how much earlier this is, but we can assume this is maybe earlier that day or a couple of days or weeks beforehand, as we see Hisako talking to May, saying that she doesn't seem much like herself. May says she's worried about her grandmother and she's not feeling too well, and she thinks it's kind of her fault, saying that she can't stay there much longer and also that she's just being with her granny is stressing her out. As Hisako asks if that she could just come and stay with her and stay at Nico's for a bit, because Nico wouldn't be opposed to it. But May says she doesn't want to get in the way, and that there's something else, saying that she's been talking to some kids from the Children of the Atom. Hisako obviously is concerned about this, as they're a cult and they might try to brainwash and recruit her, but Hisako says it's not like that, they're just hanging out. Now, pay attention to this, as this will actually come back later on in the issue. Hisako says, I guess I don't have to worry about you getting brainwashed, May, but you know that Shadow Thing is involved in that cult somehow. It's been pretty calm lately. I don't think it's a good idea to stir things up. It's bad enough Nico and Mori are set on fighting Natsu themselves. I'm worried about her too, but we should leave things like missing persons to the police. I don't think it's a good idea to get too involved. May ends up saying, but we are involved. Like Nico said, we're mutants too. I don't think running away is the answer after all. Besides, it's better to regret something you have done. Now, this is most likely coming into the fold basically from the last time we saw May currently in this series was when she ran into that other girl who is also from the Children of the Atom, who we got the code name Surge for, as a lot of things were going on with her, and seemingly this might have helped spark May's interest in confronting everything that's going on a lot more than she normally has. And I'm curious to see where this will fully lead into, as May has been more important and more so wanting to get involved in things more than they are, because this will affect them later on, especially right now in life with everything going on since they're mutants. But we cut back to the present as Hisako says that May is so strong, so confident, and why am I like this? But then as she leaves the shrine, she notices something, thinking that it's the shadowy figure from before, and as they say, there you are, a purple mist appears around them, a purple energy, as we cut to see that it is Kanan, aka this version of PSYLOCKE, as she calls her the armor girl and asks if she has a minute. Hisako says, "What do you want? Who are you?" As Kanan says, "Me, I stepped out of Legends. I'm the descendant of the Samurai Sai." Hisako says that that's a pretty old folktale about this mountain. Are you serious? As Kanan continues to say that that's the one. For generations, my family has been friends with Oni. So, how about you? Are you a mutant or an Oni? As Hisako says, "Look, I remember you. You're that jerk who bumped into me in the locker." As she introduces herself as Kanan officially to Hisako. Hisako says, "Look, I don't care what your deal is, but I don't have time for games." Kanan takes her kendo sword and points it at Hisako, saying, "Not so fast. I bumped into you because I smelled something special from you. Let's see what you got, armor girl." As Hisako then armors up with her ability and says, "Stop calling me that," pushing Kanan away. She gets some distance and says, "That's who I wanted to meet." As Kanan then gets in a fighting stance, using psionic energy to cover her kendo blade, covering it with seemingly nails, saying, "Your power's mostly defensive, isn't it? Me? I prefer offense." As her psionic energy encases around her and flutters around, she then launches what these nails on her sword are towards Hisako as she tries to block it. Kanan then, in an instant, as Hisako is trying to block, slashes through her armor and manages to make her deactivate her abilities. As she in disappointment says, "Is that it? I thought you'd bring more." Hisako says, "Why should I? I don't even know you. I don't fight without reason." But Kanan throws it back at her, saying, "You don't even fight when you do have a reason to." As we actually cut to 4 months ago, as Kanan is somewhere in the school, I presume, where May and Hisako are talking, as she recognizes Hisako from the video of her being the armor girl. As Hisako says, "I wonder if Nico got any answers from Natsu." May says, "No, I kinda spaced out on that." Hisako says, "At that basketball court, when we fought the shadow, I was unleashed. I didn't want anyone to see me like that." As May says, "You were cool." But Hisako says, "What's the point of this power? It's no help at all. All it does is get in the way," as she has like a very heartbroken, nervous smile, as the two of them walk off, cutting back to the present. Hisako, after hearing what Kanan said about the time that she overheard her, says, "Don't pretend you know me. I'm not some character in whatever story you're making." Kanan then continues with her psionic in charge sword, saying, "You know that hashtag me case? I'm the one who found." As Hisako then grabs her sword and says, "So what?" punching her in the face, landing a blow on her. But Kanan says, "Aren't you afraid? Aren't you scared you could be in the next suitcase? Whatever happens, life is just a game. I'll just keep playing until the end." As that's it for the PSYLOCKE versus Armor portion of this issue. Now, I want to take a step back and say I'm glad that these two met, because from what we've seen from the instances of the story once Kanan was introduced, and how she essentially just brought that whole suitcase that was filled with a literal dismembered human corpse in there, or potentially a mutant corpse, that is very much tied to the Children of the Atom, we've seen her try and be more proactive. She's had a very interesting personality so far, and based on how she's been interacting with Hisako, she's trying to get her to be more active in what's going on. The fact that they're both mutants helps in that, in the fact that they could actually fight it out. And I like how Kanan, this version of PSYLOCKE, is acting like a shonen protagonist to a degree, and I kind of like it. It makes things a lot more fun, but also showcasing a bit of the hypocrisy with Hisako. She just realized she has these mutant powers, she's got friends who are mutants, but with everything going on, she's kind of afraid to use her powers, and starts seeing them more as a hindrance instead of the gift that it is. And so part of Hisako's journey right now is going to be accepting her abilities and who she is right now, as we end up trying to deal with this overarching story about the children of the atom and dealing with everything going on with mutants. And I honestly hope that after this brief interaction, Kanan sticks with Hisako and we have a nice new dynamic to really follow for the next portion of the story as we get into what seemingly is the formation of the X-Men. Now, cutting back, we actually get to see the Shadow King, Kageyama, as he is walking in the crowd, as we hear a bunch of people gossip. Some about, hey, you hadn't heard anything new about hashtag meat case, and then devolving into cat memes and all that. And even an instance of Black Cat in New York pulling off a major heist, which I like that Ultimate Spider-Man reference, as in the previous issue 13 that I covered previously on the channel. Link is up in the title card. We actually got to see this version of the new Black Cat take on, well, what seems to be Spider-Man, and that's how the issue ends. So I'm glad we got a bit of a connection and a bit of a clarification in reference to what's going on in the wider world of the new Ultimate Universe. But as Kageyama is scrolling his phone, he makes it home, going up to his room, ignoring his mom, and then going into his closet as he begins to use his powers. As we cut to what seems to be an old abandoned warehouse, as somebody in a mask says, "Thanks for coming to find the truth." Adults think they can use us for whatever they want to do. We gotta save the lost children of the atom. We're in this together. And I like how this seemingly leader has a big red X on their bizarre looking mask thing, as everybody in this group seems to be wearing masks to kind of hide their identities. And I guess since they're seemingly mutants who are literally hiding in plain sight and having these secret meetings, I guess having masks to hide their identities even in this fashion is a good way to keep up secrecy. Now, one of these members says that hashtag meat case news and all the comments around it seemingly disappeared like it never happened. Obviously, there's most likely Viper and the Makers Council at work to try and keep things on the down low for the most part, to try and stop the stirring of the public and keep any and all information that it could be related back to the council from leaking out and causing a lot more problems for them. As there, it is true, somebody's definitely hiding things, as another member says to their leader that they have friends in the Children of the Atom and that they have information. You can get it for us. But they say that they're not the leader. I'm no leader, don't call me that. As everyone's wondering, then what should we call you? As somebody off in the distance manages to get an old TV working. And as this leader goes over and looks at the TV, we see an image of Aurora, aka Storm, as it is a news broadcast of a rebel fighter known as Storm, proving to be a crucial ally for Wakanda in its war with, and then that cuts off. Honestly, I really like Aurora Storm in this art style. She looks amazing. And I like after seeing Storm, we get this person giving themselves the code name Maystorm. And yeah, based off of the character sheet at the start of every issue, this is May. She seemingly has brought together a group of mutants to try and save people from the Children of the Atom cult. Also, I just like that her seeing Storm gave her the idea to give herself the nickname, the code name Maystorm, especially considering they have similar abilities. So yeah, I'm all for this. And I'm glad we got an acknowledgement of what's going on in Black Panther. And I wonder if we will see Aurora in this Ultimate X-Men title sometime soon. It'd be amazing if she somehow made her way to Japan after the events in Ultimate Black Panther's major overarching story arc so far ends, and she somehow makes her way to Japan and becomes like a mentor figure for Maystorm. I would like that. I doubt that's going to happen anytime soon, but that would be interesting to see. But as the TVs are turned on, instantly this dark presence begins to leap forward. Multiple different eyes and symbols appear on the TV screen as the images become warped, and a demented-looking shadow monster appears from within, as Maystorm recognizes it as something that's been a pain in the ass for months, harassing me and my friends. As she says, he's one of the Children of the Atom, and when someone asks if they're an enemy, she says, no, I thought he was, but he's a victim just like us. I will always compliment how Peach Momoko draws the Shadow King and any of these shadowy forms, because it's always so creepy, eerie, and otherworldly to really give us that supernatural feeling for his abilities and how he's presented. It really ups the creep factor and unsettles things and gives him nice sense foreboding whenever he appears with this ability. But he ends up saying, "What nonsense are you speaking? I've been hearing whispers about you. You're a mutant, and you are foolish enough to think you can set things right? There's no going back. I also heard you talking to Hisako. Tell me Where is she, neighbor? As Maystorm's wondering, what are you talking about? As then, they're seeing a bunch of people with the symbols of the Children of the Atom just appear in the warehouse. As the Shadow King says, surprised? I'll admit it. It took me a while to figure out who you are. You've changed so much since last time I saw you. As he seems to have managed to figure out who Maystorm is. And as his shadow begins to creep out and over, everybody is confronting the new Children of the Atom. And as Maystorm says, I'm not here to fight the Children of the Atom, I want to save them. That YouTuber from way earlier on in this run just appears and peeks through the window with her camera, with the Shadow King saying, I loathe hypocrites like you, as the issue ends. Now, based off of Maystorm essentially having an X on her head and trying to help other mutants, mainly kids that are being brainwashed by the Children of the Atom, and this confrontation, and this YouTuber filming things, we're gonna see a actual fight between these mutants, and I do feel like Maystorm is essentially taking the pseudo Professor X role in gathering together this group of mutants to help each other and take on the evils of the world as we essentially create this new version of the X-Men in this universe. Will it be called the X-Men? Maybe. I'm not entirely sure yet, but that seems to be where we're leading towards, and Maystorm is seemingly going to be the leader of this era of the X-Men, or at least get the idea out there. I'm curious to see how this is going to play forward. And she's confronting the Shadow King, aka Kageyama, and other members of the Children of the Atom. So I'm curious to see how this is going to play forth, because we're getting mutant versus mutant fights, and somebody else is filming this. So this might end up either A, making things worse for mutants, or B, get the word out there that there are mutants standing up to the Children of the Atom, and basically trying to stop this cult from taking root, and essentially corrupting other mutants from literally trying to take over the world or do all this other stuff right now. So that is definitely going to be a thing, and it'll expose this X-Men group, and I'm curious to see how this will lead into the future confrontations when it comes to fighting the Children of the Atom, or at least deal with the Shadow King. Now, Hisako and Kanan, I'm curious to see where that's going to lead. They'll definitely end up coming across this version of the X-Men, see what Maystorm is doing, and how Hisako is going to react to it. We also still have the mystery of what's going on with Natsu to worry about. There are still a lot of plot threads that still need to be tied up and converge with this story, and I'm curious to see where it's going to lead when this ultimately ends up concluding with a massive finale for what PSYLOCKE has planned for this portion of the run of Ultimate X-Men. But what do you guys feel is going to happen down in the comment section down below? Let me know how you feel about this seemingly new origin for the X-Men for this run. How do you think Kanan and Hisako are going to play into the overarching story now that they've fully met? And what do you think is going to happen with Nico's investigation into what's happening with Natsu? Let me know in the comments below. And once more, if you haven't already, like and subscribe and hit the notification bell for updates on future videos. Really helps, and it shows you guys enjoy the content I make here on the channel and shows you want to see more. Now with that all said and done, I hope you all have an awesome day.